Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are live today, and I'm glad to be back with you. And at the end of the show today, I'll basically fill you in on what I've been up to, but I don't want to get bogged down in that today yet, because there is lots to cover today. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for the break that I got. And again, I'll explain all that to you at the end of the show. Trying to keep my voice down a bit because my mother's still sleeping. Probably don't want to wake her up. But today I decided to take a closer look at Trump's Middle East peace speech. And I was shocked at what I found. Trump's Donnie Darko, it was a movie peace deal. He mentions Coexist, a golden age, and of course, 88s. You guys, we are in big trouble. The world is completely deceived. Trump and Israel are now invoking the Old Testament judgment on Gaza when they're not even hearing directly from the Lord, nor are they even under that covenant. This is what's happening. They are invoking the Old Testament genocide is the only way that you can slice this. And again, if those words are not coming directly from the Most High, which they're not even claiming is to be the case, then that is straight up blasphemy. Only God, who created life, can take it away, and only at his discretion or under his instruction. Man cannot justify it because our judgment is flawed and incomplete. And that is the only way we can look at this. Now, first of all, today, I had originally had a pre-recorded show for you guys. I moved some things around, hence the confusion. Some of you are probably over on the other chats waiting for today's show. And if you guys can, some of you can maybe pop out and show everybody where we're at, because they're probably over in the other chats, because this show is going to be very, very, very important. Again, we are live. It is October 15th, 2025. I'm going to show you some stuff today that I couldn't even believe. It made me even sit down and give pause to all this. So I had this pre-recorded show called Darko's Triumph. You'll see that tomorrow, actually. I pushed that till tomorrow. But essentially, the show was about martial law, and I had some stories pulled up talking about what was going on in America, martial law in plain sight, and this cover of Time magazine, in which Trump is depicted, and it says his triumph. And immediately I remember the connection between Donnie Darko and his triumph shirt, the one you see here, and Donald Trump in triumph. We already covered all this, and you'll see that on tomorrow's show, talking about arches of triumph and things like this, things that we'd covered, portals in different parts of the world, these arches of triumph. And I even talk about the motorcycle tomorrow, but let's not get off track here. One of you shared something very profound in the comment section, which is why we are live today, because of the urgency of this. The date of Trump's speech literally matches the number on Donnie Darko's arm. And thanks to the subscriber who found that, here is the number on Donnie Darko's arm, 28064212. Trump gave the speech on October 13th, which is the 286th day of the year. Great find. Now, there's a lot more to this. The 286th day of the year, and here's the number on Donnie Darko's arm, 286, the first three numbers. There's a lot more to this, and this is where I had to sit down myself, because 5 years ago, to the day of Trump's speech in 2020, we decoded Donnie Darko. Let me say that again. 5 years ago, to the day, October 13th, 2020, we decoded Donnie Darko. We actually compared Trump to Donnie Darko back then, 5 years ago. There's the date right on your screen. You can't make this up. This particular decode had almost 50,000 views, and as you can see, it was widely popular. We'll get into this decode a little bit today because there are parallels to Trump's speech, interestingly enough. Now, let's back up a bit. I know I'm all over the place today, you guys. My first time live in a while, but hopefully you're tracking what I'm saying here. Trump's speech, 286th day of the year, matches Donnie Darko's arm. And to confirm that this isn't just stretching numbers, October 13th also has 79 days left in the year, which is Trump's current age. So, two numerical synchronicities. Now, in the movie Donnie Darko, he predicts the end of the world. And as I showed you, we decoded this on the anniversary, the pre-anniversary of Trump's speech in Israel, which we will go through in detail today. But here's the most profound part of this decode. I'm not going to play it in its entirety, but this is very, very important. When we first see the number on Donnie Darko's arm in the movie, a song is playing by INXS, Never Tear Us Apart. And I'll put a link to this full decode if you want to see it. But I got to turn the sound off because I think I got copyrighted on this. But there's Donnie Darko on his bike. The soundtrack is playing. And in the decode, I look up and add the numbers on his arm. And they add up to 88. 28, 6, 42, and 12. Add to 88. Now that is a portal number. There's a little bit more to this. Because, look at this. Halloween, October 26th through the 30th. Obviously, a date to look at because it appears in the movie. This is coming up. But the soundtrack, Never Tear Us Apart, released on 8/8/88. What's happening here, you guys? What is happening here? Well, obviously, this is the matrix, the framework of our reality that for some reason we've been gifted to see, to share with all of you. Now, again, I'll put a link to this decode. I can't even believe this. I just can't even believe this. Now, Trump will mention the number 88 in his speech several times. He will also say weird things like, it was all a movie. This is like a movie. These people could be in a movie. You guys, please thumbs up and share this video. I know I haven't been live in a while, but everybody needs to see today's video. Let's go through the speech, you guys. I've got it pulled up right now. Let's take a look. Here's the full text of the speech. Now, the first thing I noticed, we're just going to go search through this, was several mentions of the dawn. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see this. These are Trump's words. This is the historic dawn of the new Middle East. And he mentions the word dawn several times. Now we're going to be looking at the esoterics of this. I know there's much more to this speech that other people have covered in terms of specific people he's mentioned and things like this. But we are going to focus on the esoterics of this that have been proven over and over again in our decodes. It has basically these different concepts that we've decoded are repeating, aren't they? And it's undeniable at this point. We've covered so much about the dawn of a new age, the dawn of the Middle East, all these. It's all about the dawn, right? Which is Aurora. Aurora precedes Apollo, right? In Trump's artwork, in his Apollo-clad penthouse, clad in gold. The dawn of the new Middle East. He even mentions the Golden Age. This is, of course, Apollonic as well. The Golden Age of Israel. The Golden Age of the Middle East. He says it's going to work together. He says here, And then we get into the number 8. Yes, Trump mentions the number 8 several times, and he mentions it alongside other number 8s. So we've got this weird 88 synchronicity. He says 8 years and 8 months. Let's find that on the page here. Unbelievable. Let's find that here. Now, why is this important that he mentions 8 years and 8 months? Well, that's another 88. And he's speaking about it in reference to rebuilding the military. Rebuilding the military. Let's find that here. Sorry about that, you guys. We got to scroll through here. Rebuild. Let's see. Let's put rebuilding. Let's find it that way. Rebuild. All right, here it is. He's talking about how quickly he rebuilt the military. Let's see. Oh, here we go. But when you settle 8 wars in 8 months, he mentions that as well. 8 wars in 8 months. And let's see where else this is. This might be it here. And he also talks about rebuilding the military in 8 years and 8 months. We're not going to try to find that because it could take all day, but that's what I have in my show notes, so it's in here. Now, what else he mentions that's really weird is he keeps talking about these events in the world as if they were not real. He mentions central casting. You know, the guy central casting, he mentioned, let's put him in a movie. Look at him, great job. And my people loved working with you, loved it. They worked so well together. As if it was all just a movie. Here it is again. Could I ask you, General? I come down, he's standing with another general and a sergeant. Everybody was like central casting. They could go into a movie right now. Between him and you guys over there, we could get rich making movies, okay? Unbelievable. So what does all this mean? Well, in my opinion, they're disclosing the truth about all this. Now, he's speaking about this in reference to Cain, raising Cain. And let's put it in here. And he's basically, talking about raising Cain, his general, how quickly he got things done. And he's speaking about him as if he was in a movie. 4 or 5 days, or I think 2 weeks was exactly how quickly he was able to root out, quote unquote, ISIS. Whereas before, Trump was told it was going to take 5 years to defeat ISIS, as you can see on the screen here. But raising Cain got it done much more quickly. And again, Trump talks about it as if he was in a movie. Now, there's more in here. Weapon sales to Israel. And he talks about the weapons that were used against Iran. But it's crazy because anything that Israel asked for in terms of weapons was given to them by the United States. So we're talking exotic weapons, weapons you and I don't even know about. Things that could destroy people for years and years and years, possibly. In terms of generations of people. Who knows what kind of weapons were brought to bear to achieve the goal that they're now at. Now, Trump also doubles down on artificial intelligence. If I could spell. Instead of making weapons and missiles, the wealth of this region should flow to schools and medicine industry, and frankly, the new hot thing, artificial intelligence. So this isn't going away, you guys, and there are no controls on artificial intelligence. As we can see, it's already a problem. Nobody knows it's real anymore. You go onto your feed in Facebook or Instagram, and probably half to 3/4 of what you're looking at isn't even real. These animal attacks, people in all of these things. So this is not good. Now, the other thing he mentions is the 5th of November. And of course, that date goes down in infamy as very similar to the 88 day, right? But he's talking about the election. But he says here, in fact, if we go back a year before the election, although once we had November 5th, we became hot because people got it. I would say November 5th was the time when we really became hot. So he's talking about passing through a portal on the 5th of November, which dovetails in line with everything we've been talking about the 5th of November being the festival of Samhain in the calendar, in which time travel is possible, they call it. But really, what it is the veil is lowest when the Pleiades are highest in the zenith. It falls on the 5th of November. And every 52 years, there is what's called a new fire ceremony. We're approaching that new fire ceremony now. 52 years will be 2027 is the next scheduled new fire ceremony when the Pleiades are highest in the zenith on the 5th of November, very close to it. And so by Trump invoking this alongside the 88, which is also a portal number, he is signaling something, isn't he? He is signaling something. It is very clear at this point. Now, let's get into some other aspects of this speech. Let's find this. Now this is bugging me. We got some time here. Okay. Here it is. About the military. He says, and now we have a stronger military than we've ever had before because in my first term, I totally rebuilt the military, every aspect of it. But we have, if you think, we settled 8 wars in 8 months. Oh, wait, that's not it. We already read that one. He keeps saying this over and over again. 8 wars in 8 months. 8 years. It's all about the 8s. Wow. So, what else is going on? Well, Trump then invokes David and Goliath. He has gone biblical, and I know a lot of you have mentioned the no-hide laws, and you are absolutely onto something with that. And it is happening as they are invoking things like the genocide from the Old Testament, invoking David and Goliath, comparing Israel to David. And again, if they are not speaking directly with the Most High, then that is blasphemy. You cannot invoke those things. Those are direct commandments from the Lord, not, people who don't even really believe in Jesus. But let's look up some of this rhetoric here about David and Goliath. It says, the love that gives you the courage to carry on through thousands of years of persecution and repression and to emerge with the heart of David. It's the heart of David. It's that love that's defeated the enemies of civilization, built this incredible country and this unbelievable economy, and forged one of the great democracies of the world. These are Trump's words about David and Goliath. Wow. Now, of course, here's where we get into one world religions, every faith worshiping as one peacefully is what he is mentioning now. And there's some wordplay here because not only does he talk about this, he mentions the word coexist, which of course is a religious reference, but he uses it in the context of living together peacefully amongst all religions. Now, of course, God wants peace amongst religions, but the Bible is clear there's only one true God, not multiple gods. In fact, the entire Old Testament was all about false worship, worshiping false gods, right? And God telling the Israelites, the ancient Israelites, that there was only one true God. So what Trump is saying is more blasphemy. You can't talk about, accepting all of these religions as real or true, And so by doing this is more blasphemy. So he talks about all these religions of the world worshiping together in peace. And of course, we get the safety and security, which is mentioned as well, which is part of this. It says here, yet if safety, security, and coexistence can thrive here in the winding alleys and ancient paths of Jerusalem, then surely peace and respect can flourish among the nations of the broader Middle East. Now, what he's saying here is that Jerusalem was a place where all the world's religions would come in peace, and he believes that he has proclaimed that peace. Wow, maybe this is why God said sudden destruction would come after the proclamation of peace, because it was the ultimate blasphemy in the holy place where peace is declared, because God knew that false religion would be embraced and allowed. So those were my thoughts on the speech. While we're here, we might as well go through some of these headlines. But before we do, I'll get you guys caught up on what's been going on in my life. I just was reaching a point of burnout, I believe. We've been on YouTube for 13 years, and just, very few people understand. I had to block a few people who were just being extremely insensitive, comparing the work we do to, mixing concrete. Yes, you're mixing concrete, but you're not in a spiritual battle every single day of your life, trying to, expose the enemy, putting your life at risk to do that. Obviously, people have been taken out every day for speaking and having a voice and influence to speak the truth about all this stuff. Different kind of work, but work nonetheless. And was trying to minimize my need for a break. So, we're in a time now where there's no more grace in terms of what's going on in the world. Okay, I'm not going to sit and put up with that. Okay, this is a mental battle, and I did need a break. But of course, here I am. I'm back again. We can only rest so long before you see the whole world going a certain direction, and it's time to speak up. Obviously, we have a responsibility to do that, to tell the truth, as most of the world is deceived, thinking that we are on the cusp of peace. Now, the headlines are coming out, and they're basically saying now that, it's not over yet. Hamas is killing people. Now they're killing Palestinians, but absolutely, we're not at peace yet. They keep saying it, but it's not happening. Now, what am I doing? I'm in California with my mom. Hadn't seen her in several years. Needed to see family. That's one of the things you sacrifice when you do the work that we do. Is I was in my quiet place in the Ozarks, putting my head down. You don't see family. You don't see a lot of friends because you're committed and you're isolated. And you can only do that for so long before you need to reconnect with the people in your life that you care about. So I was sacrificing that, and now I'm back and spending some time with my nieces, nephews. I got all kinds of family over here in California. And I did some fishing. That was amazing. Did some fishing off of the bluffs in Big Sur, California, and caught probably the biggest rockfish in my entire life. It was about 8 pounds, about 22 inches. And the story was pretty crazy because I hooked the fish off the bluff, and it was so heavy I could barely get him out of the kelp. He took an whole anchovy that was threaded onto the hook with this flexible thread that kind of keeps it on there a little bit better because the surf is moving around, and threw it into a hole off this cliff in this secret spot and hooked him, got him up out of the kelp, and then he went back down. So then I finally pulled him up under a rock ledge, and I could see him down there stuck in the rock ledge, but I could not reel him up the 100-foot cliff. So I set my pole down and I climbed down the cliff. And talk about being on the edge of life and death. But these are the things that make it worth it. It's the things that keep you alive and keep you your desire, because we do have to enjoy life, you guys. You got to get out and enjoy life. I scaled down the side of this cliff, and my two friends were watching from the other point that they were fishing at. They could see me fully. I have some pictures. I'll probably have to upload those, the pictures they took of me on the top of this cliff, and then after I got the fish, and scaled down this cliff and grabbed the fish. It was as long as my arm. Then I scaled back up the cliff, and the rest is history. Couldn't even believe it. And then I was able to put the fish on ice, and I took it to my kids, and I did a fish fry for my kids, who live together now, my son and my daughter, on the Central Coast. So I really needed that. And thanks to all of you who supported that and kept watching the re-uploads while I was taking some time away. The re-uploads are very, very important, you guys. Most of you have not seen them, so I appreciate you guys doing that. Now let's get into some of these headlines. If you guys have any questions, I'll be in the chat in a minute. But while I'm on here, while I got a window of time, we should look at some of this stuff. Electricity bills. Well, here you go. I tried to tell everybody. Remember the data centers? Heck, we did a documentary called The Rise of AI, and we mentioned the data centers and how they were going to take up water and electricity, and it was all going to be another tax on us. That was 6 years ago. Here we are today, and they're finally admitting that data centers are causing people's electricity bills to rise. Why don't people believe when truth channels try to tell them stuff and warn them about things? Well, it's because we're just a truth channel on YouTube. We don't know anything, right? But here it is. Now it's too late because Trump's already signed Stargate AI, which is a huge data center, which is going to suck up lots of electricity. And so it's kind of too late. Here's the story on Hamas, who are now clouding the future of the ceasefire. They've killed dozens of people. Here's the video. And we're not going to show you that, but basically that's going on as well. And what else do we have here? Let's get an update on Epstein. Well, here we are. More corruption. House Speaker Johnson will not swear in the Democrat whose vote will be needed to release Epstein files. And we are now living in a reality where people are covering Trump's sins. They've turned it into a bipartisan thing where the people on the right literally believe that, oh, it's the Democrats. Look at this guy. Look at this joker. It's the Democrats. Truth has no political party. This is why you have to lean into truth instead of picking a side. Okay. Now, let me go back into the chat. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I'll be in the chat now for a bit. You guys have any questions about anything? Yeah, the kids are happy and healthy, working, getting through life. And that's what's going on with the kids. My mom's good. She's doing really well. And what else? Good morning. We have 2 comments in the sky tonight. Lemon and Shamas, says Tony. Thanks for that. Politics is entertainment. Yeah. I was looking through some of these headlines. I was like, when am I going to do a show? Because I do, we do the headlines updates. And I was like, and I'm looking through these headlines, you guys, and I'm watching things just go. I'm keeping track of the Epstein files. What's going to happen? I'm watching this Middle East thing, Russia, and I just realized it's all just a game. This whole thing. And at the end of the day, the only thing that's changed is more people are dying. That's all that's changed. With Russia, for instance, Ukraine. It's literally, we're watching genocides in plain sight. So it's kind of hard to report on that stuff when nothing ever changes. Matt says his dad's in the hospital. Prayers to your dad. He's not trying to get better. Yes, we'll pray for your dad, Matt. Sorry about that. Marcy says AI is disgusting. It absolutely is. Good morning, Josh. No, this is not a re-upload. We are live today. It's October 15th, 2025. Yeah, the way you'll know is if you look at your watch page, it'll either say live or premiere. in a red box. And so, and also you can see the date here on the screen. That's how you can always check to see if we're live or not. Premieres are usually re-uploads, typically, but not always. Sometimes I'll pre-record a premiere, depending on, if I know I'm going to have like silence in the house here because I'm traveling. I can't bring my studio with me, which is not much of a studio. It's pretty much just a mic, but I have a setup because, there's a lot that goes into this, you guys. And being on the road, is you have to make sure everything's right. All right. Okay, what else is going on? Did the fish have a coin in his mouth? No. Thanks, Brent. That's a good one. Fish did not have a coin to give the Caesar tribute. Wow, what about the names of the things above the date 8888? Oh, you mean on the let's take a look at that. Thanks for that. I can't even believe this. Look at this. October 13th, 2020. 5 years ago to the day of Trump's speech. Okay, this is in excess, never tear us apart. Different world, guns in the sky. Interesting. So I'll put a link to this if you want to dig deeper into that. Yeah, the Medal of Freedom for Charlie's wife, unbelievable. Just creepy. People are starting to wake up. They're like, hey, where's the where's the bullet? Where's the public information? Where's the medical report? We don't get to see any of that. That was not a 30-06 that hit his neck. It was something else. It was something else, and nobody is telling us the truth. Nobody is telling us the truth. So we're left with, what is really going on? To what end? Yeah, there was no bullet. I believe you're right. Or it was like some kind of projectile, but a true bullet would have went right through. There's absolutely no way. I don't care what scenario they come up with. Yep, no autopsy, nothing. And life just goes on. Someone found a red bracelet. I don't know if that was AI or not, but on Erica Kirk wearing a red bracelet, we all know what that means. We all know. Thanks, Kimberly. Yeah, it was a 3-day drive from the Ozarks. I was like marathon man. And it was, I was in the car like 11 hours each day. Can you please pray for my son, Peyton? He's away in college struggling to get by. Yep, time to come home soon. Deception to the highest degree. Yes, we are living in a movie. Why do you think Trump kept saying that? It's a movie. It's a movie. Because all of it's a movie. Everything we see in the mainstream is a movie. They're using it to manipulate us into their agenda. And be careful where you give your spiritual energy in terms of accolades and success. If you're one of those people jumping up and down saying, we just killed a bunch of people. Well, that's between you and God, of course. I'm sick of their fake crap too, Marcy. So, Trump is Donnie Darko confirmed. Now, what was it? One of the Baldwin brothers did a spoof on Trump years ago on Saturday Night Live in which he called Trump Donnie Darko. This is not a secret, you guys. It's not a secret. Yep. A lot of friends are losing their jobs. Absolutely, Pierce. Thanks for saying that. We are losing millions of jobs in plain sight. The mainstream media is not covering it. AI is taking over. There are no real jobs left. People that are applying for jobs are just met with dead ends. So what are we all going to do when everything's automated and AI is doing everything? We're going to have to rely on the people in power that control the money, aren't we? So why do we talk about these things even though they sound tough to handle? Well, because it helps you prepare for the end times. You don't want to get caught holding the bag, do you? You don't want to get caught holding on to a property that you can't sell. You don't want to get caught holding on to, a concept of a job that isn't there. You don't want to get caught without a place to live, without a job. When you know the truth, you can prepare for these things, can't you? You can figure out what you're going to do. But when you're living in the other reality where they're telling you, oh, the economy's great and Trump's going to fix everything and the tariffs are good, that's an alternate reality. Because the truth is that the tariffs are a tax. It's an extra tax. When are we going to get this money back? Well, it's when Trump decides he's going to give us the money back for the billions that he says that he's collected so far. And there will be conditions with that, right? So the rest of us, if we don't want to submit to the conditions to receive this tariff money back in the form of whatever they're going to call it, which could be, if you are a person that publicly speaks out against a country that shall not be named, you don't get a tariff check, right? So how did we get in this situation? Wait a minute. Aren't the tariffs, wasn't that supposed to be our money? There should be no conditions, but watch, there will be conditions. So we'll see how all that shakes out. Okay, what else? This is about preparing for the end times, you guys. It's not about running away. Can't run away, but you can prepare. Okay? Lack of knowledge is how people perish, the Bible says. Yep, the ballroom, Cheryl, absolutely. They're talking about the ballroom. Think about how out of touch that is. Millions of jobs being lost, electricity costs going up, water costs going up because of this AI, these data centers. And then we're going to build a ballroom laden in gold. Now, I think on tomorrow's show, I'm also going to show you guys the devil horns above Trump's head. That was one of the stories that I did not cover today, but I've got it pre-recorded for tomorrow's show. So, because that's important as well. They're actually golden devil horns because it's gold in the White House, and he's in front of it, superimposed in front of it. So why are they messing with Christy Cherry's comment there? Why would they screen that out? Christy's talking about plays in dirt. AI is lame. Yep, the bail room. The bail room. All right, what else is going on? Yeah, there's a lot of hate going on. This country is more divided than ever before. We've got racial profiling going on. ICE. We'll get into some of that tomorrow. Yep, Qatar. There was this, what they do, this is what I've learned. This is why I don't jump too quickly onto headlines, because they set traps, disinformation traps. So first they floated this concept that Qatar was going to have a base in Idaho. But then that was misinformation. It's not really a base, but they're going to have Qatari pilots come in and train in Idaho, which is bad enough on its face. I told you guys this was a foreign takeover, okay? What Trump's doing is he's getting rid of the undesirable immigrants, and he's bringing in all his friends from the Middle East. This is unbelievable. Qatar, Saudi Arabia just signed $1 trillion deal to come in and build, data centers here. Is this the America you want? Would you rather have people working in a field with, doing work that maybe Americans don't want to do? Or would you rather have billionaires and millionaires coming in, bringing in their religions that aren't even Christian in their tech stuff? Which would you rather have? Okay. Or maybe you'd rather have neither. And that's fine too. That's fair enough. Okay. But here we are. We're not getting answers. We're getting greed. We're trading one thing for another. Paying for citizenship? Oh, $5 million gold card for fast track your citizenship? So you pay to play? What kind of reality are we living in, you guys? Marcy says, Casey, please decode the game with Sean Penn and Michael Douglas, a 90s movie. Okay. Yeah, this is not America. Somebody needs to say it, because everyone's under the strong delusion of prosperity and golden age. I don't see anything close to that. I see things costing more money. I see people struggling. I see their fixed costs going up and their income is not going up. So, yeah, the Air Force Base. Thanks, Christina. Yeah. The Bible tells us we would not be able to tell the difference. All right here. Yeah, that should be straight up like, what do they call that? You can't have foreign people coming into our country. I don't care if they're allies or not. You can't be here. Israel's saying that one of the bodies returned was not one of the hostages, says Jennifer. And I've got my suspicions about this hostage situation. It was all just, I believe it was all fabricated, or much of it was. I talk about that tomorrow a little bit on tomorrow's show as well. I don't want to get too much into that. So, how do you prepare for end times? Well, I tried to be the example. I try to be the example. On a minimum wage income, slowly building a homestead and try to be debt free. Get rid of debts, because that's how they're going to get people. Don't buy into their, quick get rich quick schemes, crypto and all this stuff. Those are all just traps. And don't consume too much of their things. Consumerism will get you in a trap. Don't enter into any of their contracts, their modern contracts, because that can destroy your life too. And just become independent from the system. It's not to say that you can't live in the world. Jesus said we live in the world, but we're no part of it. Don't buy into their gold. The Bible tells us what's going to happen to gold at the end times. It will be thrown in the streets. It will be worthless. So if you're storing up all your gold, moths and rust will destroy it. So it's about independence from the system. Land is still very, very valuable in terms of with resources. You can have land with resources, some trees around you, maybe a water source. It's a place you can always go that is low in taxes, in a place in America where that still exists. There's still stuff out there, you guys. So that's the way you make it through the end times. It's not about running away. It's about preparing, just like Noah prepared his ark for the last days. If Noah didn't have an ark and he said God's going to take care of everything, then he would have drowned, right? So that's how you do it. Unfortunately, not a lot of people are in that mindset still. They think there's going to be a golden age of prosperity, even as things continue to get worse and worse and worse. They're not preparing for the end times. They think what they have is going to last forever. We already know that's not happening. Look what happened to the AI jobs. No one ever thought that under Trump that there would be less jobs. It's not being reported, but it's the truth. Okay? People can't find jobs, you guys. Look around, talk to people that you know that have had jobs forever. So it's not to be a Debbie Downer, it's to warn you, just to be prepared. You can still have joy and peace in your life. In fact, you have more joy and peace when you're prepared for these things when they happen. But if you're not prepared for these things, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be in the wind. You're going to be lost. So I'm begging you, please prepare. Think differently about how you do things, okay? And start thinking about, okay, what would happen if I didn't have that job? What would happen? Is the rent that I'm paying sustainable just because I have a nicer place? Maybe I should downsize into maybe a place that's not so expensive so I could save a little bit of money, right? So just some words of wisdom. What would I do if the electricity went out? Things like that. All right. You got to think of things in terms of cascading failure as well. Okay. So, certain things are going to go first, right? Jobs, then inflation. So things are going to cost more and more money. So if you're a person that consumes a lot of things, you're getting hit hard right now. If you're going to go out and try to buy that, cart full of groceries that you used to be able to get for $100 and now it's costing you $250, you have to change the way you eat or think or what you eat, right? So that's one thing. The price of beef is through the roof. I don't even eat beef anymore because I'm not going to go pay $15 or $10 for ground beef. I'm just not going to do it. Coffee, the price of coffee's gone up if you drink coffee. So we have to adjust to these things, right? Imagine a world where your electricity bill is going to double, because it will in the next 5 years if there's that much time left. So how are you going to do that? Well, you got to adjust to that. The bigger the house you buy, you're thinking, oh, I'll just buy this huge house, the more you're going to spend on things like electricity, right? And heating and cooling. Why do you think my house is only 1,000 square feet? I could have built a huge cabin, but it's only 1,000 square feet because it cost me almost nothing to heat and cool it. So there's different things that you have to think about. Now, I understand that many of you don't have that luxury. I get that, in discussions that I've had with many of you. Some of you are disabled. Some of you can't work. Some of you are stuck in the situation that you're in. This is what I'm saying to you, to the people, is not for people like you, because you're kind of in the situation you're in. You're going on faith, and God's going to get you through whatever is coming, right? So this isn't to scare people like you, but the rest of us who are able, we need to try to figure out a different way to get through all this, okay? Because none of what we have now is going to last. It's crumbling away like sinking sand. The Bible tells us that this kingdom is built on sinking sand, and it cannot stand, and it will. And isn't it crazy how they have these sinkholes and all this? It's literally like the Bible's playing out before our eyes. Sinkholes, fracking, whatever you want to call it, mudslides, built on sinking sand. Wow. Now, think of things in terms of real goods. Like, back in my cabin, I probably could survive a year just on the things that are just laying around, I got pellets for my pellet gun. If I had to, I could shoot a squirrel or a rabbit and eat it. I know they're not clean animals, but, if I had to, I could, Canned food, learning to eat a little bit less, fasting intermittently. These are the things that we should be like thinking about if you had to, and kind of being prepared. I have dove on my property if I had to. Whole covey of dove, they come and fly in. And so, just things to think about, you guys. This is supposed to be a positive thing. This isn't criticism. This is counsel. It's help. So, yes, Snowball says your cell phone will still work, and it will. He's right. You know why? Because they need to continue to program everybody. Okay? This is why they're never going to turn the power out for too long. They might turn it out and make you think it's going to be out forever, but they got to continue to program people. So the power's always going to come back on for a while, so they can keep you in fear, right? Their cell phones are always going to work because they need to keep programming people. That's why they put your computer in your hand now in a phone, because they know people are always going to have their phones. Yes, the church is under a spell. They are completely behind Trump. They're under the strong delusion. Absolutely, Teresa. It is very sad to see. They need it for cashless, says Snowball. Yep. They're going to need the phone for cashless. I think you're right over the target on that one too. And to track you, yes. All right, you guys. Well, I've been on here for a bit. I love each and every one of you. Thanks for showing up to the live show. Let's see how many of you guys showed up today. Let's take a look. About 500. We don't have the whole crowd, but those of you that care about the channel, I appreciate you guys showing up. And again, tomorrow will be a pre-recorded show, but it'll be a current show. Basically talking about the martial law happening in plain sight. And then after that, we'll be back in the re-uploads. And I may pop in for another live show here now that I've got something set up that resembles a studio. Thanks, Cheryl. Cheryl says, Casey, you sound great. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just needed to touch base with my family and do some fishing. I don't know when I'm going to be heading back to the Ozarks. It might be a while because I'm just, I had to just pop out of there for a bit. But I will see you guys next time. Much love. Big hugs, everybody. Take care.